Hello and welcome to Glanusk in sunny South Wales and the third round of the 2019 all-wheel drive club Britpark Ravenel Safari Championship. We've had two great events already to kickstart the season and preparations are well underway for what should be a particularly demanding third round. A hearty breakfast and a walk or a cycle around the course is in order as everyone tries to get their bearings on what is a very narrow and technical route. There are some new faces joining us this weekend as well as all of the old favourites as the championship shifts into high gear. It's very tight at the top of the points as well. Mark Hones is just 2 points behind Rod Parker at the head of the championship race. Here's confirmation of the championship battle. Stephen Hyatt is joint second with Mark Hones, whilst Mike Bakewell and Gareth Edwards are not far behind either. Chris Cumming is also inside the top five, ahead of Philip Parpotas. Jason Rowlands looking to fight back after disappointment last time. Bruce Mallet and Paul Rowland round out the top 10. The class battles are set to be as entertaining as ever this weekend, as there are individual championships up for grabs in 2019 as well. These are the class championship leaders after the first two rounds of the season.
That's right, so leading the Freelander Trophy at the moment is Philippa Tennant, co-driving with your father James Tennant. It's been a pretty good year so far. We're here at Glanusk. It's a bit different course compared to Ebbw and Walters Arena, very slippy, very tight. You're leading the class at the moment. What are your thoughts going into this round?
Yeah, we're really pleased with how it's been the first time. So we're actually double driving this season, so 50% of the event each. We had a really good time here last year. We got some really good runs in. Unfortunately, it decided to immobilise in the car park last year, so that was the end of the day. So hopefully get a finish, and with two only this time, we need to aim for the win.
What's it like being a driver now? Because you were a co-driver for your father James in his Maserati.
Very different. Certainly not as quick as he is. My aim for this season is to try and match one of his times when he's out in the driving seat. But I think having been a passenger, I learnt a lot about reading the land, how the routes to take, and it certainly helped.
Brilliant. It's good to have somebody like giving you advice. James, how's she getting on?
She's doing really well, and I think she will be matching my times by the end of the year, which is a bit worrying. But you know, I think that'll be great if she can match me. That's brilliant. Yeah.
So it's an inter-family rivalry. It's always good for the sport.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
And going into this round, obviously. Each round is blind because you don't get to go around the course beforehand. What's your mindset going into that first round? Do you just attack it, or is there an air of caution?
So I guess my best thing is I'm very good at remembering from walking the course. So just trying to remember the lines as best you can so that you can sort of attack as much as possible. I think putting in a decent first run really sets up your day, so you need to attack it.
And the person joining you is Ian in his V6 Freelander. You're on the 1.8k series. He's got a bit of a power difference. Does that make much of a difference on these tight and twisty circuits?
Yeah, it's hard to tell. I think the main thing with these Freelanders is getting them to the end. So, you know, the power, obviously on the straights, especially here, there's some long straights if the course is as last year. But getting to the finish and driving sensibly over the rough is even more important.
Is it an equal share when it comes to the runs and driving?
Yeah, we try and do 50-50 as long as the runs allow for it.
So you're going to shout at her if she breaks it?
Yes, and she'll shout at me just as much. So yes, it is a problem. You do want to keep the car on peace, but that is the challenge of getting a Freelander around these courses. Is you go too fast, you break the car. Go too slow, you lose the race. So yes, it's finding that sweet spot and trying to get to the finish as quickly as possible.
Well, we wish you best of luck for this weekend, and hopefully you'll still be top of the table at the end of the weekend.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Cheers.
Into the morning's action now then, and Mark Hones ready to launch into the course for the first time. This Nissan 350Z engine car is an absolute beast and should be well suited to the tight and technical Glanusk course. That certainly seems to be what the early times are indicating. 15 seconds quicker than Rod Parker on run one and 18 seconds faster in the second run, which means that the winner from last time out is going the right way, about doubling up here in round three. One of those challengers for the victory today is no doubt going to be Jason Rowlands. Jason had a solid start to the season at Walters Arena with a podium finish, but disaster struck last time out, and now he has it all to do again to claw back those championship points. Things so far, at least, are going to plan though. He's right on the coattails of Mark Hones, only 6 seconds behind him after the first 2 runs of the event. The early pace is promising, and he's also leading Class 5. A class victory, though, is the bare minimum requirement for Jason today. As for the championship leader, Rod Parker has had a cautious start to the event today. Arriving here with a slender championship lead that he was keen to protect, not too many risks were taken in the first couple of runs of the day. Will no doubt, though, be disappointed to find himself more than 30 seconds adrift of Mark Hones after just 2 runs. He'll have to up that pace throughout the afternoon so as to limit the amount of points being lost. He will at least take some solace, though, from the fact that he's 3rd in Class 8, only 1 place behind Mark, so not too many points are going missing just yet. In the early stages, though, all of them are chasing this man, Adrian Marfell. Adrian is not registered to score championship points this weekend, and therefore, in a way, has nothing to lose. Perhaps that's being reflected by his early times. Second quickest on run 1, Adrian then obliterated the competition on run 2 to take a 12-second lead into the afternoon. He's pushing hard though, there are 1 or 2 mistakes creeping in, and the rest will be wondering whether he can maintain this pace for the rest of the day. Whilst Adrian himself won't be scoring championship points, he can still take points away from some of the regular championship contenders. Not good news for his Class 8 rivals, Mark Hones or Rod Parker. The Class 5 battle this weekend looks set to be an all Rowlands affair, with Jason having the upper hand over Paul in the early stages. Paul rounds out the top 5 overall, but is already more than 30 seconds behind Jason in the early stages. That margin may start coming down as the day goes on, but Paul will have to try and iron out some of the small mistakes like this one if he's going to have any chance of competing for the class victory. Mike Bakewell arrives here at round 3, 4th place in the championship, and only 4 points away from the outright championship lead. Perhaps most significantly, though, he's part of a sensational 3-way tie for the top honours in Class 9. Of those 3 drivers tied in points, he is the only one without a win so far in 2019. He'll be glad to hear then that he's the comfortable early leader in Class 9, some way ahead of the rest of his competitors. He'll need to try and keep that pace up to add a victory to what's already been a consistent season. Whilst consistency is key to putting together a championship campaign, when presented with the opportunity for a victory, Mike has to go for it, and this is by far his best chance of a win so far this year. With the exception of Mike Bakewell, it appears to be the Class 8 and 5 cars that have the edge here this weekend. 3rd place in Class 5 and not far away from that top 5 battle is Chris Cumming, the early points leader in class. Chris holds a slender points advantage after a victory last time out and a podium at the season opener. He'll be hoping therefore to have a solid run today and avoid the sort of mechanical issues that befell several drivers last time out, including Scott Benwell, who blew a clutch at Evervale. He's had a panic with Anthony.
Thanks, Andy. I'm joined now with Scott Benwell. Retired at Abbey Vale, and it's fairly understandable how that happened. You've got an LS400 V8 with 350 brake horsepower, over 400 pounds-feet of torque. It's a formidable machine. You're normally running in the top 10. We're here in Glanusk. Where do you see yourself finishing here?
If I managed to finish, the first event I came and raced here with this engine, I melted one. Second event, I managed to roll it on the first lap. So I'm not actually going to push on too hard. So I'm just trying to go for a finish. That's what I say now, anyway.
It's different when the light turns to green, but it's slightly different to what you've known in the past. The way they laid the course out, it's very quick, it's very slippy. Some tight hairpins as well to deal with.
Well, it was the hairpin that I rolled on last, so I'm going to have a walk out and have a look, make sure I can get round it in one without going over. So I'll have a walk out and see what's going on.
And because you're not allowed to drive the course in the car beforehand, what's your mindset going into the first run? Do you just attack it and see what happens?
You could lose an event in the first lap, but you can't win it in the first lap. So you've either got to go flat out the first one and give it its best chance, or try and survive for the rest of the day and hope people drop off. So you've got one or two of the chances or choices.
Yeah.
So,
well, it looks like the latter's the wisest option, so good luck.
thank you very much.
Cheers. Now, back to Andy with all the action.
Back to our championship contenders now, and a fascinating opportunity to directly compare the pace of Mark Holmes and Rod Parker. These two cars both run with very similar engines but have different strengths and weaknesses, and with our split screen view we can directly compare their pace at various points on the course. From the run from the start finish line to the first corner, Mark Holmes definitely has the advantage. Then the course gets rougher, and that 0.6 of a second deficit for Rod Parker turns into a 0.7 of a second lead by the very next corner. It's a fascinating comparison, and it just goes to show that despite the fact that Holmes has the early advantage, Rod Parker definitely has the capability to take some more time out of him as the event goes on. Over the course of this short first section of the route, Rod Parker is going to pull out a small advantage, over 2 seconds quicker already. Join us after the break to see whether he can maintain that strong performance. Hello and welcome back to the third round of the all-wheel drive club Brit Park Ravenel Safari Championship, where we've had some early drama with some of our early championship contenders. Stephen Hyatt was joint championship leader in Class 9, arriving here in the third round, and having won the season opener at Walters Arena outright, was joint second in the overall championship. Sadly, after a promising start here today, he is out, and with it he loses his chance of a big points haul. That could prove crucial at the end of the season. Also out, remarkably, is one of the two drivers that he shared the Class 9 Championship lead with, arriving here at Glanusk. Gareth Edwards, class winner last time out, and overall top 5 competitor in the championship, he's also out before we reach the midway distance. This will blow the championship wide open and hand a clear Class 9 Championship advantage to Mike Bakewell. Back to some of those drivers having slightly better fortunes now, and Tom Rimmel, who is running inside of the top 10 overall after 3 runs. Tom is also 4th place in Class 8 at the moment and having a solid day. He'll be looking to try and pick up a few more points as the day goes on, which may well be possible. He's only 5 seconds behind Chris Cumming in 7th place outright. His nearest rival is Bruce Mallet, although Bruce is over 30 seconds behind at this stage. He is 2nd place in Class 9 though, and that may well become his main priority as the day goes on. Bruce currently sits 4th in the Class 9 Championship, but with the early demise of joint championship leaders Gareth Edwards and Stephen Hyatt, this could be a great opportunity for Bruce to bring himself into championship contention. He's yet to have a class podium though. Today could be the day that he achieves that. He'll have to push on though. On the 3rd run of the day, he lost over 10 seconds to his nearest Class 9 rivals. This 2nd place is far from in the bag. The man taking all of that time out of Bruce Mallet is Andy Skelly, 3rd place in class and just outside the top 10 overall at this stage. Unlike Bruce, and he has had a class podium last time out, but didn't enter the season opener at Walters Arena, hence his lower championship standing. He'll be after every point that he can get though, especially having missed that first round of the championship. He'll have to try and iron out some mistakes like this though, if he's going to have a chance of catching the very rapid Mallet. Still, he's got a good chance. Second place would be some valuable championship points, and he's closing in. This is going to be a fascinating battle. Next up is Stuart Williams, running 12th overall and 4th in Class 5 at the midway point. Stuart had problems at the season opener, but fought back for a strong top 6 finish last time out. Here today, he's just one position away from his first podium of the year. Whilst he may be only one position away from a podium, he's quite a long time behind the top 3, and mistakes like this at the hairpin will not help his cause. He did set his fastest time of the day so far on run 3 though, saying that he is getting quicker, and also that the course is getting quicker with every passing run. Next up is Keith Wild, running in Class 8. But over a minute behind Stuart Williams and nearly a minute ahead of his nearest rivals, it's looking like being a fairly lonely afternoon for Keith. Wild has had a rather up and down start to the season, so we'll be glad to have a trouble-free run to the checkered flag today. However, he'd like a bit more pace if possible. A top 5 looks like a real challenge. Let's head back down to the paddock now, where Anthony has caught up with one of the newcomers here this weekend.
Joining us for the first time in 2019 is Rob Mawson in your 3.9 V8 powered Warrior. Fantastic looking machine, very well prepared. Looking forward to your first event.
I am, yeah. I'm just looking to have some fun and at least finish. Not too worried about where I finish. Just want to make sure it does finish and everybody's safe. So, and have some fun along the way.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shakedown session for you. You've not tested this car out on the rough stuff yet?
No, not yet, not this year. Did a few events last year and it performed okay. Done a few tweaks on the engine over the winter. So this is the first time out to see if that's worked and what the results come from that.
We've just been around the course. It's very tight, it's very slippy. There's some harsh hairpins. How are you going to approach the first run? Obviously, you can't. You got to walk. You got to walk it first.
I'm going to go very steadily. This is quite long, but the wheelbase is 106, so any tight hairpins there's probably going to be some reversing involved. So we'll see how we go.
And where do you see yourself finishing, or is just to finish the plan?
Just to finish. I'll be happy with the finish.
Good luck.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
One of the closest battles through the middle portion of the day is the one for second in Class 6. Mick and George Chick hold it at the moment by nearly 30 seconds, but it's all very, very tight with 3 teams involved in the scrap. This pairing have improved their time steadily as the day has gone on, the third run nearly 45 seconds quicker than their first attempt at the start of the day. May well be some way behind the leaders in Class 6, but a good result is definitely still possible. It's easy to see through this tight hairpin where time can be won and lost though. It's very rutted on the way in, it's a tight corner, and it's a very safe and sensible run taken by the crew that still sits second in class. Class 4 is being led at the moment by Paul Hansen. Di won the first round of the championship and was then on the podium again in round 2, meaning that he is one of the more comfortable championship leaders at the moment. He's in similarly dominant form again this weekend, a comfortable class leader and running 14th place overall. With no real pressure from within the class, you could forgive him for taking things easy, but he's not, as this mistake at this tight chicane shows. The reason he's still pushing so hard, well, a top 10 finish overall could still be doable, especially if some of those in front of him fall by the wayside. By far the closest battle out there at the moment is the one for third place in Class 6. At the moment, Darryl Hardy and Robert Mawson are on exactly the same time and within 30 seconds of second place in class as well. There has been literally nothing to choose between the two of them all day. They set identical times on the first run, and then on runs 2 and 3 were within 1 second of each other. This battle is set to run right down to the wire. With such tight margins, any mistakes or hiccups could prove disastrous. Therefore, the pace has to be kept up. This hairpin once again though very nearly catching Darryl out. He wouldn't be the only one to slip up there. It's been a frustrating day so far though for the Team Parry car. They are one of the few crews out there who have seen their times get slower as the morning has progressed, and they are now the last of the Class 8 cars still running. A disappointing day then for the Parrys, but it's been a fascinating battle up towards the sharp end between championship contenders Rod Parker and Mark Hones. Anthony has caught up with both of them in the paddock.
After 2 rounds with the All-Wheel Drive Club in 2019, currently topping the championship table is Rod Parker and his Milner R5, closely followed by Mark Hones and Stephen Hiart. Mark had some pace at Ebbw Vale, but this is a completely different kettle of fish. It's very slippy, it's tight, it's very fast sections. You've walked around the course. Does anything concern you?
Yeah, I mean, it's very, as you said, it's a very fast course. Lots of straights in there, but at the end of the straights, we've got 4 hairpins, real tight hairpins with some serious offs. So yeah, be a bit cautious around the hairpins, I think, for tomorrow, and maybe the first couple of laps just bring the car home. Yeah. See how we go.
I suppose you've got to have an eye on what Stephen Hiart's doing and also Mark Hones, because they're going to go out and attack it.
Yes, I mean, we've got a whole championship to run. We're only 3rd race in. This is set up nicely for Stephen's car, Mark's car and our car. So we're all going to go out tomorrow and see what we can do.
And you're still looking for that first win?
Yeah. See me tomorrow and we'll talk about it again.
Good luck, Rod.
Thank you.
Joining me now is Mark Hones. Firstly, Mark, congratulations on the win at Ebbw Vale.
Thank you.
We're here at Glanusk. Completely different contrast to Ebbw Vale, very slippy, very, very fast sections, and then you're going straight into hairpins. Yeah. You're not driven around the course yet, you walked it. Yeah. What are your thoughts going into it?
Looking forward to it, yeah. It reminds me a lot of Minehead, but luckily the tracks are a bit wider. You say, total contrast to Ebbw Vale.
Formidable machine you've got here. It looks like a Mini, but it's not. Talk us through it.
It's a GSR frame underneath, obviously fully independent, with the 350Z Nissan in the back and a SADF sequential at the front. Got Ryger dampers on it, which we're starting to understand and get the hang of, but there's still a lot to learn from them.
Yeah, and at the flywheel, 372 brake horsepower, yeah. But at the wheels, around about 250.
We reckon about 250, yeah.
Is that due to all the mechanical drag going through the transmission?
So I'm led to believe, yeah. I don't honestly know, it's a bit above me. I just drive it.
Right, well, you're doing a pretty good job of that, so good luck for the rest of this weekend.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, let's check back in then with our early championship contenders at the midway point of the event. Mark Hones is 2nd overall, Rod Parker 4th, 2nd and 3rd in class respectively. We'll pause the footage briefly and then we'll release them on their way through this high speed but narrow and bumpy section at the middle of the route. The Mini of Mark Hones has arguably had a slight advantage when the going gets fast. Bumpier sections, that maybe is where Parker has had the advantage. On this first flat out run down to the junction, 7/10 of a second have been gained already by Mark Hones. The trees start to close in, it gets a bit more technical, but the speed is still very high here. Hones is pulling out the gap all the time on Rod Parker, and on this section of the route it's easy to see why. He's doubled the advantage now, nearly 1.3 seconds ahead as they turn through the hairpin, and that's where the Mini, which is so much lighter on its feet, is able to gain even more speed, quicker through the corner, quicker therefore off the corner, and he arrives at the next junction even further ahead. It's clear to see here why Rod Parker is struggling to keep up with Mark Hones this weekend. He's going to have a real fight on his hands if he wants to try and take some championship points out of his big rival. As we come towards the end of this particular time section, the gap has increased phenomenally, already up to 4 seconds. Join us after the break to see if Rod Parker can do anything about it. Welcome Welcome back to Glanusk for the third round of the all-wheel drive club Brit Park Ravenel Safari Championship. As we move into the final part of the day, we've sadly lost a few more teams as the course starts to take its toll. Jasmine Philpott is out, not because of this mistake, but because of mechanical dramas that have sidelined her. And that's a real shame because she was joint third in the Class A Championship, arriving here today. With the issues for Team Parry, she could have been set to gain even more championship ground as well. But unfortunately, the DNF will put paid to her chances of doing that. Her pace was strong before the retirement though, and she'll be looking to bounce back next time out at Minehead. Charles Dunn is also out from Class 4, a real shame given his strong early promise. Charles was the Class 4 winner last time out as well and was setting times good enough for second place in this event before disaster struck. He was also one of several drivers to have a moment at that devilishly tricky hairpin. Another driver out, this time from Class 8, is Ethan Davis, which is a shame again because he was another quick runner in the early stages. He got as far as run 3 before having to call it a day.
64, it's the end. Killed an engine.
Back to the leaders now, where Adrian Marfell is proving to be just as tough to beat as everybody suspected he would be. He's pulled out over a minute's lead going into the final run of the day. I think his competitors will all be pretty happy that he's not here to score championship points. It's been great to have him out here though, and he's been spectacular to watch. That makes Jason Rowlands the de facto event leader, something he'll be very happy to hear. It's a tight margin in the fight for the overall victory, but his Class 5 win, barring any mistakes, should be pretty much locked in. Jason was always going to have to push hard this weekend to make up for the disaster last time out. If he can hold on to this position to the flag, it will put him right back in championship contention. That, though, will not be an easy task. He has some of the most experienced drivers in the championship bearing down on him, and the gap is not that sizable. This could be a real grandstand finish. Once Adrian Marfell is deleted from the results, Mark Hones becomes the Class 8 leader and second place overall. He's now nearly half a minute ahead of his big championship rival Rod Parker, but he won't be counting Jason Rowlands out of this title fight either. He was ahead of Jason after the third run, then lost 18 seconds to him on run 4, meaning that with one final run to go, he's within touching distance, but has work to do to take the place back. That mistake for Mark Hones on the fourth run allowed Rod Parker to take 6 seconds out of him. That, though, was the only time all day that Rod was quicker than his early championship rival, and he may well have to accept that he's simply not beatable this weekend. This course has not suited Rod's car quite as much as he'd like, and he'll be happy to take a class podium. It looks set to be a fascinating championship battle between the two, and with the likes of Jason Rowlands starting to find some pace now, it could be anyone's championship. It's going to be fascinating to see how this develops throughout the year. At times today, though, Rod Parker simply hasn't had the look. Here we get the chance to ride on board with him through one of the narrowest sections of the course, as his rhythm is disrupted by a slower runner. The back marker has nowhere to go, and Rod is forced to sit in the wheel tracks and the dust of the slower car, losing valuable time. Eventually, there's a space for the slower car to go, but the damage is done, and Rod Parker's chances of fighting for an overall victory are surely now slipped by the wayside. In his frustration, he runs on at the hairpin, losing even more time. run to forget this for Ron Parker, but it's still been a solid showing this weekend, and the battle between he and Mark Hones has been fascinating to watch. Back to Class 4 now, and with the demise of Charles Dunn, into second place in class goes Andrew Wards. Andrew was second at the season opener, but didn't score last time out at Ebbw Vale, so this will be just the result that he was hoping for. It's been a solid day so far for Andrew as well, who is comfortable in this second place in class. He's actually involved in a nice battle with Team Parry, only 6 seconds behind them, having taken 4 seconds out of them on the previous run. It just goes to prove that regardless of where you are within the overall standings, there's usually someone to have a battle with. Next up is the car that's 4th place in Class 9, that of Lizzie Jones, having a really good run here today. If she can hold on to this 4th position to the flag, it will be her best finish of the year so far, after a consistent first 2 rounds saw her arrive here at Glanusk 5th in the championship. More results like this though, and she could challenge for a top 3 overall. More mistakes like this, and she could end up losing ground. This hairpin's caught lots of people out today. Lizzie, though, one of the few to stall the car, losing more valuable seconds. One car being driven by 2 drivers this weekend is the number 11 machine, being driven by Leighton Dodds and Martin Hayward. They're sharing the driving duties and therefore sharing the costs as well, making this an even more affordable way of competing. As you can see, this is also a completely road legal car, showing that you don't have to spend a lot of money on high-tech machinery to enjoy the all-wheel drive club competition. They've had a solid day and have seen their time steadily improve as the day goes on. They'll be looking to end on a high, no doubt, in the final run of the day. That driver pairing are being caught by another 2-driver entry, that of Henry and Peter Crunch. They're running in Class 9 this weekend, and whilst they're not troubling the overall class podium positions, they have been improving their times and catching Dodds and Hayward as the day has gone on. They arguably should have been significantly higher up the order, but a slow second run time has left them playing catch-up ever since. They'll be hoping that on their next appearance in the all-wheel drive club, they can start with this sort of pace and maybe challenge for a podium. Joanne Pullens will no doubt be a little disappointed to be so far off the outright Class 5 pace, but she has, so far at least, enjoyed a safe and steady run through the event, despite becoming the latest in a long line of drivers to be caught out by this tricky hairpin. Joanne is very much looking at the long game with this championship, hoping to improve in pace and confidence as the year goes on. She will be fascinating to watch as we go further into the season, as she gains pace, as she gets more accustomed to this car. Watch for her to improve up the order as we get towards the back end of the season. The Class 1 victory last time out went to Richard Mayer-Barron, and it appears that that is going to be the same result this time. He is a dominant class leader after issues earlier on for Philippa and James Tennant, the winners of the first round of the season. Richard scored just a solitary point at the season opener though, so every win that he can get is essential. He looks good to take the maximum 100 points here at Glanusk. He may not be the fastest around the course, but this car has proven to be near enough bulletproof so far this season, a trait that he'll be hoping continues to be evident as the year goes on. Despite a largely trouble-free run through the day though, even Richard is not immune to the troubles of this tight hairpin. A quick three-point turn and he's back on his way, but time is lost compared to the rest of his competitors. His big lead though means that he shouldn't have to panic too much just yet. Another chance then now to compare the relative speed of Mark Hones and Rod Parker in their fight for position. It's looking increasingly likely that Hones will take it, he's extending his margin, and he may even be able to challenge Jason Rowlands before the end. But if we sync up the footage, we'll be able to compare these two through this particularly high-speed section of the course. It's definitely on the faster sections that Parker is able to keep pace. Once he gets the momentum up, his car is just as quick, only losing 0.3 of a second on the run up the hill. Then though, things start to get tighter and narrower, and that is where the lightweight and agile Mini appears to have the edge. As they come into this tight left-hand hairpin, there's maybe half a second in it. As they come out of the corner though, the Mini bursts out of the corner and in a steep uphill acceleration area is able to pull further clear of Rod Parker. By the time they crest the hill, the gap has gone up significantly to 2.5 seconds. It's easy to see that Hones is clearly quicker than Parker around here. The question remains, can he challenge Jason Rowlands? Join us after the break to find out. Welcome back to Glanusk, where there's been some late drama in Class 9. Mike Bakewell had been caught by Andy Skelly for the class lead and was then forced to retire with a broken diff. This means that remarkably none of the 3 drivers who were tied for the points lead in class arriving here managed to stay trouble-free all day. There was also a late sting in the tail in the Class 9 battle for second place. Anthony Warts had fairly comfortably held the position before retirement late in the day robbed him of what would have been his second podium of the year. He was running strongly before then, despite this moment at the hairpin that seemed to catch everyone out at one point during the day. Anthony will be particularly disappointed to have missed out on an opportunity to score some really good points. Freelander Trophy, meanwhile, things have been a little more plain sailing for the class leaders Philippa and James Tennant. They have nearly 3 minutes in hand over anybody else in class and remarkably are running second in Class 1 overall. As ever, driving duty has been shared by the two evenly across the day, and they've seen a real upturn in pace this weekend. At this rate, outright class victories may well be possible before the year is out. They've proven impossible to beat so far this year as well, winning the first 2 rounds, and now only 1 run away from potentially completing the hat-trick. Weren't completely trouble-free though. You guessed it, this tight hairpin caught these 2 out as well, proving just too tight to get around in one go. The driver chasing the Tennants the hardest in the Freelander Trophy Championship coming into this round was Ian Willem, who was second place in points, arriving at Glanusk. Second place is likely to be where he stays in the points as well, since he's running second in the Freelander Trophy with 1 run to go. is the more powerful V6 powered Freelander, but all the power in the world still won't help you negotiate this hairpin. Despite that little misstep, he's still running 4th overall in Class 1 and may yet be able to challenge for a podium position. Luke Dodds and Kieran Jones may not be running in the Freelander Trophy, but they're well in the podium battle for Class 1 honours. They come into the final run less than a minute behind Philippa and James Tennant, 3rd place in Class 1. Whilst it's unlikely that they'll be able to find enough time to beat the Tennants, they've been applying the pressure all day long, hoping for a mistake that so far hasn't come. Let's head back down to the paddock now then, as some of the front-running teams prepare for the final run of the day.
That's right, Andy, and running 4th at the moment is Rod Parker. Rod, you said yesterday that you were going to start with on the air of caution, and that's what you did. As it stands now, you would walk away joint top with Mark Owens. Tell us how your day's gone.
Yeah, as you said, I started off very cautiously. It was very slippery. It had a lot of potential offs there, and it was a very nasty track until the first few laps were out there, and we managed to scrub off the top when we could then pick some pace up. So yeah, it was. We're glad to come home and the car all in one piece.
It looks like Jason and Mark have got the legs on you this weekend. What's been the difference?
I think that this is more set up for Jason and Mark's cars. Mark's is lower to the ground. It's more poised for this type of terrain. Watch us in the rough stuff.
Well, hopefully we'll get a bit of that next time. But good luck. A couple of runs left. Wish you all the best.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Class 2 looks to well and truly be in the pocket of Chris Brennan. That is helped, no doubt, by the fact that he is the only Class 2 car here this weekend, meaning he's been able to take a fairly steady run to his 2nd victory of the year. He had a retirement last time out though at Ebervale, so he won't be counting any chickens just yet, and will be glad to see the finish line. He would also no doubt be glad to see more competition in Class 2. Let's hope that more drivers turn up as the season goes on to provide him with a real challenge. Derek Wheeler is next up, running in Class 6, but he's nearly a minute behind Chris Brennan going into the final run. Dell has been a little out of sorts this weekend. A podium at the first round was followed by a win last time out at Ebervale. This time, he is some way off the podium positions. Indeed, it would appear that a 6th place finish in class is the best that he can hope for. He'll be hoping for a return to form next time out. Stephen and Martin Nichols, meanwhile, look set to get onto the podium in Class 4 this weekend. They may be some way behind the top 2 in class, but as others have hit trouble, they have managed to avoid it and are looking good for their first podium finish of the year. In fact, it looks like it's going to be their first trouble-free run of the year at all, despite this near-miss high-speed junction. Next up, in 26th position, is Tom Rimmel. Tom is running in Class 8 this weekend and had some issues early on, which have disguised his true pace. The highly powerful Class 8 machines are always a joy to watch, and to marvel at the commitment shown by the drivers to drive one of these things down roads with such a narrow room for error. Tom will be hoping to get more to grips with the car as the year goes on and perhaps fight for top fives before the end of the season. Right now though, Tom Rimmel's biggest fight is to try and hold on to that 26th place ahead of Tim Pink. Tim had been considerably slower than Tom, but as Tom has fought back, the two of them are separated by just a couple of seconds going into the final run of the day. Tim's main priority though is to hang on to 4th place within Class 4, which would be a solid result for him. He was second in the championship arriving here, but had yet to have a completely trouble-free run. Hopefully today is the day he gets one. Tony Rooney is the last of the Class 4 runners remaining, but he's some way behind Tim Pink going into the final run of the event. With these more production-based cars, survival is always the order of the day though, and it's been a cautious run for Tony, but we'll look to see him finish 4th at the end. Let's head back down to the paddock now then, with Anthony and Mark Hones.
Thanks, Andy. I am joined now with Mark Hones. Now, Mark doesn't want to know where he's running. That's obviously something to do with the mindset. But talk us through how have you found the course?
Fantastic, great course on a great site. Been 10 years since we raced here, and I couldn't remember none of it, but it was great, yeah.
You've kind of got the legs on the rod this weekend. The car's suit is low to the ground, more poise, better handling almost. How many events during the season do you think this car is more suited to rather than the rough stuff?
I'd like to think all of them. Ebervale was fantastic, always liked that course, and each one's got its own challenging bits. But so far, so good on all the 3 courses we've been on. We've had a lot of been unlucky with punches. Had a lot of punches. Had 2 today, so which cost us quite a bit.
And you've been putting that Nissan V6 through its paces. I've heard it screaming all day.
Oh mate, yeah, I'm well chuffed. Yeah, that does go well. Yeah, well pleased with it. Yeah.
What's the transmission? Is it a sequential box?
Yeah, the SADF one. Yeah, with the flat shift.
Yeah, so you just put your foot flat on the floor, bang, bang, bang.
Bang, 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 bang. Yeah. I'm pretty easy on it going down. I do use the clutch to go down. A couple of times I haven't, but don't like it doing that. Yeah, it's not fair on it.
All right, well, good luck for the rest of the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, Mark may not want to know where he's running, but what I can tell you is that he's only 8 seconds behind Jason Rowlands going into the final run of the day. Here we ride on board with Mark and Rod Parker again, who's looking less and less likely to be able to challenge the top 2 as they head through the final section of the course. Mark Hones pushing on in his fight to beat Jason Rowlands for what is effectively the victory, as Adrian Marfell, the leader, is not scoring points. He's 1.4 seconds quicker than Rod Parker through that particular part of the course and is on full attack mode here. Let's ride on board and enjoy the view. Well, Mark continues to pull out the advantage over Rod, and remarkably that is enough for him to snatch the position from Jason Rowlands on the final run by just a single second. Here is confirmation of the result then. Marfell wins but does not score championship points. Mark Hones is ahead of Rowlands by a solitary second. Rod Parker is next ahead of Andy Skelly, who wins in Class 9. Scott Benwell takes Class 6 honours, while Stuart Williams wins in Class 5. And the Tennants hang on to the Freelander Trophy. In the championship then, Rod Parker and Mark Hones are now tied on points, with Chris Cumming 3rd and Jason Rowlands fighting back into contention now, 4th position. Bruce Mallet rounds out the top 5.